Hi everyone. All right, today we are going to be looking at the essential question of how do we factor out a rational number? So yesterday we were looking at factoring out the greatest common factor. Today we're going to check out what does it mean to factor out a rational number. Okay, so we're going to be looking at factoring out a rational number. We're going to need to look at the coefficient on the variable term. So if we think back to the coefficient, we learned that at the start of the year. Coefficient is like the co-captain, right? The co-pilot. It's the one that works with another number in order to have an answer. So it works with a variable. So if we're looking at example A, and we have 1/2 of x plus 3/2, our job is to factor out the coefficient. So our coefficient is the number stuck to a letter, and in here it is 1/2. So our job is to factor out 1/2. So we're going to take 1/2 out of each of these so that way we can solve. Okay? So if I remove 1/2 by x, or if I think 1/2 of x is 1/2 times what? So if I factor this out and I put 1/2 on the outside of my parentheses, I am going to multiply by x on the inside. Because when I look at this number and I multiply 1/2 times x, I get 1/2 x, which is what I start with. And now I need to think about, well, 3/2, right? I need to think of this 3/2. So I'm adding this to what? What times 1/2 gives me 3/2? Ignore that. Okay, so if I'm looking at this and I say, what times 1/2 gives me 3/2? I'm going to start with 1/2 and I want to multiply it by something to get 3/2. So what would I work with here to get from 1 to 3? Well, to get from 1 to 3, I would multiply it by 3. To get from 2 to 2, I know that 2 times 1 is 2. So my change, the thing that makes the change in the middle, is 3/1 or 3. So my distributive property here, I'm multiplying by 3. Because 1 times 3/2 or 3 times 1/2 times 3 gives me 3/2. So the numbers that I'm factoring, when I factor out the coefficient, so get rid of the coefficient, I'm left with x plus 3. And this is my answer. Okay, let's do another example, and hopefully this time I won't have a bunch of scribbles on my paper. Okay, our second example that we are looking at is to factor out the coefficient when we have 1/5 x minus 4/5. So first of all, we need to know what is the coefficient. And the coefficient here is 1/5. So our coefficient is here, 1/5. The co is the one that's attached to the letter. And so we need to figure out, if I pull this 1/5 out of both of those numbers, or factor it out and put it on the outside, how do I get back to my original starting point? So if I do 1/5 times what, I'm going to get 1/5 x. Well, 1/5 times x gives me 1/5 x. So my first number here is x. And that's how I get 1/5 x. The second part of this I want to look at is 1/5 times what will give me 4/5, because I want 4/5 as my final answer. So when I'm looking at this, 1/5 times what gives me 4/5? Well, 1 times 4 gives me 4, and 5 times 1 gives me 5. So my answer here, when I reduce it down, is just 4. So my answer is 4. 1/5 times 4, or 4/1, will give me 4/5. So my final answer then is right here. It's 1/5 x plus 4. That is my final answer. Okay, let's go ahead, hit pause right now if you need to finish writing this. I'm going to turn the page, and we are going to do one more example of rational numbers. So we'll do one more of a rational number. Sometimes our rational numbers, sometimes they give us answers that are decimals. Okay, so sometimes we will have a decimal and we have to use that decimal to solve. Okay, so this one says 5 plus 2.5 times q. So that's example C. Again, we're looking for our coefficient. The coefficient is the number stuck to the letter. So our coefficient is 2.5. Okay, that's our coefficient. So we need to factor out the coefficient, but we're going to have to write it just like we do here. So we're going to pull 2.5 out, and I want to know, how do I get to 5 and then to the q? So 2.5 times what will give me an answer of 5. Okay, so 2.5 and 2.5. So we can think of this as like 2.5 times 2 will give me an answer of 5. If you wanted to, you could take 5 and just divide it by 2.5, and you would see that you get your answer of 2. But we also have a q. So 2, we could also think of that one as 5 divided by 2.5, and that gives us 2. 250 plus 250, 2.5 times 2.5 plus 2.5 gives us 5. But we also have this q that we need to worry about. And so 2.5 plus q gives me 2.5q. Okay, because remember there's that invisible 1 in front of the q. Okay, so pull out the coefficient. It's kind of like already the greatest common factor, and then work your way forward from there. All right, it is time for some try-its, 2 of them. So here are our try-its. Try-it number 1. Try-it number 1 is 1/2 of n minus 1/2. And then try-it number 2. Try-it number 2 is 3/4 p minus 3/2. All right, so go ahead and hit pause right now so you don't hear me solving. And then when you are ready, you can hit play. All right. So number 1, we're going to find the coefficient. Our coefficient is 1/2. So I'm going to take 1/2 and put it on the outside. 1/2 times n gives us 1/2 n. Minus, we need to know, how do I get from 1/2 to just 1/2? So what do I multiply? What times 1 gives us 1 is 1. And 2 times what gives me 2? Which is also 1. So 2 times 1 is 2. So this is a whole 1. Oops, I should have used my other color. Oh man, messed up my colors. All right, there we go. So 1/2 times 1 is 1/2. So my answer to this is I have 1/2 times n minus 1. That is that problem. And now we're going to factor out 3/4 and figure out how to get to 3/2. That's weird. I wonder if maybe, just maybe, they have already simplified or something. So let's check this out. So my coefficient here was 3/4. So I'm going to go 3/4 on the outside, and I'm going to multiply that by p, because 3/4 times p gives me 3/4 p. All right. Now I want to subtract to get 3/2. So 3/4 times what will give me 3/2? So how can I get to 3/2? Well, I could make an equivalent fraction here. So this one's kind of weird. So if I make this, say, 6/4 maybe, I could reduce it down because it's equivalent. So this one's kind of a tricky one, and I'm sorry this was in your triads. But I would do 3 times 2 to get to the 6, and 4 times 1, and that would get me here, which would reduce down to 3/2. So if I multiplied by 2, I would get the answer. This one was kind of a weird one. So 3/4 times 2/1 gives me 6/4 or 3/2. So that one was an odd one, but at least you have it now for your examples, and I apologize about that. It's okay if you didn't get this one. Make sure you ask questions if you're stuck there. All right, go ahead and answer your essential question now. How do we factor out the coefficient or the rational number? How do we factor out the rational number? So answer that there. And then put your level of understanding in the box. And then when you are finished, come on back to the Google Meet and ask for help. Or you can do your practice work. As always, I appreciate all of your hard work and effort. And make it a great